My name's Michelle Sanders, and the name of our business is Attic Journals. We make journals out of vintage books and a variety of products out of all the pages and parts of the books as well. So we take discards from schools and libraries and upcycle them into products that are usable today. 10.5 years ago, I needed a gift for my friend, and she was a public health nurse, and I made her a clipboard, and it was terrible. But then she's a big journaler, so I made her a journal with a drill and some clips, and it looked terrible too, but the idea was born. So I had always worked in libraries growing up, over at Midland Library on 122nd, and then in my college library. And each night at the end of my shift, I would sneak out to the trash to rescue the books that had been tossed out. So I was kind of either going to become somebody with a special on cable, or I needed to make something out of those books. So I was raised here. My family lived in a number of different houses around the Lents neighborhood. We lived in 32 places before I graduated high school. And so I have a heart for this community because I feel like it's my people, right? That caring for folks that are a part of this community in a neighborhood that most of Portland has not embraced is important to me. So I worked with an organization called Friends of the Children before I started doing the journals full time. I was doing both at the same time. And when I started at Friends of the Children, they assigned me all girls from the Lents neighborhood. We were living in Montevilla at the time, and when it was time for us to choose where we were going to buy our home, my husband and I felt really strongly that we wanted to live shoulder to shoulder with the kids that I was working with, and also that kind of like a doctor from Kenya needs to return to their village in Africa, I needed to go back to Lents to give back to the community that had been so faithful to me growing up. I think Lents is my cultural background, that kind of this hard-living, scrappy, grungy little people that live over in this neighborhood is my cultural background. My family is primarily Anglo, but my husband is Latino, so our cultural background as a family is a biracial family that tries to embrace everything that we can so that our children are well-rounded and cared for in a culturally diverse setting. So we speak Spanish and English at home. Our kids are exposed to just about everything we can figure out how to expose them to. So, well, that's a great question. I think from a cultural standpoint, our business is impacted by a lot of hard work. If we're to say that our cultural background is Latino and Lents, I think that you're going to get a really strong work ethic of people who are going to make it happen. So even when it seems like, how are we going to survive? Business isn't doing what it needs to do this week, this month, this quarter. I think my husband and I both understand that we're going to make it work because of our cultural background. We're going to fight hard to make sure that it works because of who we come from. I love that we're rescuing books. I kind of feel like we're the Humane Society for books. That poor little sad books on their way to the landfill get saved and we bring them back to life. One of the products that we work with in particular, we make journals out of the books, but we also make letters out of baby board books. And there's no way that those books are recycled because they have laminate on both sides. So there's no pulp value for those books. So no matter what you do, if they're not resold at the Goodwill, if they're discarded to a recycling plant in any way, they go to the landfill. And those are the books that babies chew on. Those are really hard for the earth to digest. So I feel really good about us upcycling those. I also like that we are helping people tell their story and that we are getting money into public education and community organizations. So for me, the biggest challenge was trusting it. Trusting our business was going to support us. Having been a social worker for a number of years, I felt really strongly that when my kids were born, that I needed to be able to take care of them, kind of like a plumber with a leaky sink. I didn't want to be the social worker with a grouchy kid. I wanted to be able to be home and take care of my daughter. So she was born 2.5 years ago, and it took me a full year of a lot of deep breathing and praying and freaking out to quit my job and to be home with her and to do journals full time. So for my husband, no problem. We got this. I want to be home with my kid. But for me, it took me a lot longer. So having confidence, I think, was the biggest challenge. And then also, I am not naturally, okay, so this speaks to the cultural stuff too. I think that having been raised in Lent, you lead with your gut a lot. Your gut instinct tells you everything. And so I know how to make things happen, but there are moments in a business where you've got to pay attention to the numbers. And the first year that I quit my business, quit my job, I wasn't paying attention to the numbers as well as I needed to. And I didn't realize that we make no money in June. I had no idea. We make no money in June. So the first year, all of a sudden it's June and I am terrified, right? So that learning curve of surviving, we didn't make any money. And so figuring out how to have a better strategy for next year is it's hard, but it's good. I'm better for last June. This June was a lot better. Whew. I think one of the things that I bring to the community is that I'm willing to ask hard questions of my business and our business practices, of my neighborhood and the people who want to improve the Lents neighborhood. I really want to challenge what that means, improving, because I think it's beautiful, the fabric of the people of Lents and how they have survived for so long and have been strong for so long. And I don't want that lost for the sake of convenience or the sake of safety, perceived safety. I think I bring the strength of caring for kids too. I have a pretty strong O-meter when it comes to seeing a kid that's in a difficult situation and wanting to figure out how to help that child. So my vision of Lents is that there would be dynamic public service, transportation, public safety, grocery and livability would be nice, sidewalks and streets in certain areas. I know everybody's got their own challenges around why and the taxation and stuff like that, but I don't want this to be known as another location of displacement in the city of Portland. I want this to be a place where people learn how to live together and exist together and make this a dynamic place together. So that's really what it is. I didn't come back here to see other people have to leave. I came back here to exist with people. So I think that what happens here, what Lents is beautiful. People are strong and resilient. They're determined and they're hard workers. And I think it's a beautiful part of who the city of Portland is. We don't do convenient out here. We do figure it out, put your shoulder to it. So we do a lot of hard work for the marketing and branding, but when we see the most dynamic things happen, it's when other people see us and realize, let's do something about that. Let's prop that up somehow. There's really good role models in Lents too for being hardworking businesses over time. The Woolmacs over here with Lents Auto Body and Woolmac Auto Body. I don't know if it's still those guys, but these guys have been here since the dawn of time. Like literally when I was a kid, the dawn of time. I remember taking my grandpa's trucks to these guys, and they've never not wanted to be a part of this community. They've always embraced who they are. I don't think they've always been called Lents Auto Body. I think they changed their name to include Lents. I think that's kind of beautiful. So at Addict Journals, one of the things that we're committed to is that we use up the entire book. And so when we make the journals, we cut the spines off of the book, the original book. We leave the first few pages of that original book in it. So maybe you get the library cards, the inscriptions, the little kids scribble. And then it's a blank page journal back behind that, right? The pages that come out of the book become alpha packs, which are thin page letters that people use for scrapbooking and different stuff. We also pack all of our boxes with the letters, or with the pages, so that people see that we're recycling the whole book. The spines, we make those into necklaces. We cut images out of the spines and make those into necklaces, and we also make iPad cases and Kindle cases from those. And then the piece that was driving me crazy that I couldn't figure out what to do with was this punch right here. I was giving people bags of confetti for their weddings. That was a little weird. But so we started making these fire starters out of the punches of the books. And we sell these to campgrounds and state parks, national parks all over the country. because the density of the punch of the paper plus those little bits of cover make it so that they burn for a really long time. They're covered in wax that's discarded from a candle maker in Vancouver. And all of our producting, this is made from, our labeling is made from discards from a print shop. So everything we do, we're trying to take away the imprint of humanity. Ba-da-da-dum. These are the baby board book letters. It's A through Z. We also do a lot of familiar phrases like happy birthday, congratulations, bon voyage, welcome baby. And every one of them is a page from a different baby board book. So they're super heavy duty because toddlers chew on them. And they're great for customizing. A lot of people spell babies' names and teacher names. A lot of librarians use us for inspiring all of you to read while you're at school. So my almost 17-year-old stepdaughter, she has learned a lot about how to be present to people because of our business, because she goes and helps us set up our booth when we do farmers markets, and she sees me on the phone talking to customers all the time. So she's understood how to engage the world professionally because of our business. Our 2.5-year-old, yeah, it's a part of her life. She has to get up really early every weekend. And anytime we start to drive towards someplace that's a big open space, she says, "Is it a market?" The crafting community in Portland is a beautiful thing. And so when my kid was born, it wasn't just our family that said that they were going to love her. It was all of these people that make soap in their basements and sew clothes for toddlers that gave us gifts. I mean, she just was born into this community of people that really will care for her for a long, long time. So my husband, it's both of our jobs. So our business impacts us quite a bit. Some days more than we'd like. It'd be nice if we could sit on the couch and watch TV and not talk about production for the next day. But it's a good problem to have if we're going to have a problem. So the hopes that we have for our business is that, you know, we would rescue as many books as is humanly possible, right? That's a big one. But then also that we would have an out-of-the-home production space or storefront that we could sell our goods and make our goods without it having to be in our garage. It's really nice to make things in our pajamas. It's great. But it would be nice to be able to have, one of the reasons why you guys aren't at our studio right now is because I feel strongly that I don't want folks around my kids that they're not going to be a part of their community. And when you own a business, it would be great if shopkeepers could come and pick out their journals there. If you guys decided you wanted to buy a Christmas gift, you could pop over to our, but I don't want you guys to come over to my garage. That seems a little weird, right? So that's our hope.